طيب let's start. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أهلا وسهلا مرحبا جميعا. I welcome everyone to today's session, in which we are going to revise inshallah ta'ala units 1 to 4. We're going to continue the revision. This is the second session for revision. Last time we focused on the vocabulary, and inshallah today it's all about the grammar, inshallah. So I've posted the vocabulary categorization exercise, at least one of the two. How did everyone find that? How did it go? And let me know inshallah in the chat. Today inshallah we're going to focus on the grammar. So we're gonna so someone said it was very difficult. Inshallah it'll become easier. Grammar, generally speaking, can be challenging, but it's one of those things, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he says that grammar, he says بيت من خشب بابه من حديد. He says that grammar is basically a house made of straws, or if you like wood, like a house that is very weak, but its door is made of steel. Okay, so that's how grammar is. It's very difficult to get through or to get in, but once you get in, mashallah, it's very easy. So keep on practicing inshallah and never give up. Type. So today inshallah ta'ala we're gonna have the lecture first, and after that we're gonna do the workshop بإذن الله الكريم. I wanted to go over the quarterly test. We'll leave that last if we find time, inshallah. I didn't manage to mark all of it, any of it actually, because not all of it has been submitted yet by all of the students, but we'll see inshallah, because I don't want to go over a test and explain the answers before everyone gets a chance to do it. So what we're going to do today is we basically, over the course of the past 4 weeks of this course, obviously excluding Ramadan when we didn't have lessons, we covered a lot of different grammatical concepts. And the way we covered the concepts was that we would focus on the concepts that are there within the dialogues. So anything that's there within the dialogue, we would touch on it, and perhaps sometimes we'd mention some related grammar concepts as well. Okay, that's how we've been doing things. However, even though that's good, is a good way to do things because it's relevant, we shouldn't be covering grammar concepts that are not part of the unit. The problem is that you lose the structure. You lose the general overview of grammar. So it becomes many different disconnected concepts, when in essence they're all connected, and grammar has a very beautiful structure in terms of how everything is related. So having covered all of those concepts over the past 4 weeks, and to be honest, we've covered a lot of the basic concepts, alhamdulillah, we now have the luxury, we're now in a state whereby we can bring everything together in its structure and explain it in one go. So that's what we're going to do today, inshallah. So all of the different things you've learned over the past 4 weeks, we're going to bring them together in one overarching structure, inshallah ta'ala. Of course, there's going to be things missing that we haven't covered yet. However, what we have covered is going to be nice and structured, inshallah. And I'm going to go over that right now, and I'll share the notes with you as well as soon as the lesson finishes, because they're ready. I just need to copy and paste them, inshallah. Okay? Type. Just one moment. Type. Share the screen. طيب, here we go. We have everything here, inshallah. And I've put them, everything we've covered so far can be put in one of two categories. Okay, everything we've covered so far can be put in one of two categories. We have what we call أحكام الكلمة and what we call أحكام الكلام. What's the difference? What does it mean? The whole of grammar and anything related, and when it comes to Arabic grammar, you can put it in one of these two, under one of these two chapters. أحكام الكلمة and أحكام الكلام. أحكام الكلمة basically means the ruling of a word in it when it's isolated by itself. So imagine you have a text and you take every word out and you make a list of words, like a vocabulary list. Okay? Every word that you see in front of you, it has some grammatical rulings. Okay? When the word is by itself. So for example, let's say the word Muhammad. The word Muhammad. Okay? As a word by itself, it has certain rulings. Number one, it's an ism, it's a noun. Okay? Muhammad, the word Muhammad doesn't need to be in a context for me to know it's a noun. It's a noun. It's always a noun. It's not a verb, it's not a particle. Number one. Secondly, it's also what we call mu'rab, as in the ending of the word Muhammad changes from Muhammadun to Muhammadin to Muhammadan. Basically, it's inflected. It's got i'rab, it's got declension. It's not mabni. That's also a very important thing, because that means it is relevant to grammar. Because if the ending of the word doesn't change and it always stays the same, then it's not really relevant to grammar. Arabic grammar, nahu, we're talking about here. Okay, so we have the rulings of a word by itself. That's what we call أحكام الكلمة. That's the first chapter. Once you cover that chapter, you go on to the second chapter, which is the main chapter, the meat of it, which is أحكام الكلام. And that's what grammar is really about, which is the ruling of a word in a context when it's part of a sentence. Okay, so let's use the same example. Muhammad. Muhammad, you'll come across it sometimes as Muhammadun. Sometimes you'll come across it as Muhammadan. Sometimes you'll see it as Muhammadin. Okay? Or for example, the word mudarris. Sometimes it is mudarrisun. Sometimes mudarrisin. Sometimes mudarrisan. Sometimes it is al-mudarrisu. Sometimes it's al-mudarrisi. Sometimes al-mudarrisa. Okay? Why? Why does it change? Why can't it just keep and stay the same? Well, we've mentioned that when we talked about maf'ulun bihi and the likes. We mentioned that i'rab comes to the rescue. This changing of the haraka at the end, it's what gives Arabic its flexibility. That's what allows us to put the word wherever we like within the sentence. Unlike English, whereby every word has to be in its place. And we gave an example of ضرب زيد عمرا. Zayd hit Amr. In English, Zayd hit Amr. Who did the hitting? Zayd. Who got hit? Amr. How do we know? Because of the order. We mentioned Zayd first, then the verb, then Amr. That's how it is. If we change the order and we say Amr hit Zayd, the meaning will change. Now, Amr is the perpetrator and Zayd is the victim. We mentioned that before. So what allows Arabic the flexibility whereby we can say ضرب زيد عمرا or ضرب عمرا زيد, which are two different structures, but they have the same meaning, is the fact that the ending of the word changes based on the function of that word within the sentence, which we call i'rab basically. Okay, so this is what where we study i'rab, أحكام الكلام. Okay, so again I repeat, أحكام الكلمة, when the word's by itself, what are its rulings? أحكام الكلام, what are the possibilities there for a word when it's part of a sentence? So when it comes to أحكام الكلمة, it's really about the three parts of Arabic speech which we've talked about before. Arabic, any word you come across in the Arabic language, you can put it in one of three buckets. Okay? We've mentioned that. Okay? It's either going to be an ism or a fi'l or a harf. It's either going to be a noun or a verb or a particle. We talked about what these three categories are in detail. We also talked about how to recognize them. We also gave some examples. All of that we talked about. And it's not today's it's not the topic of today that we go in detail mentioning all those things once again. Okay, so we talked about nouns. We said nouns are words that refer to a person, animal, place, or thing. Okay, and we gave some examples. Okay, such as Muhammad. It could be a place, it could be a thing, or an animal. And to summarize, the difference between noun and everything else is that nouns, number one, they name something or someone, or they refer to something or someone already known, i.e. pronouns, and they do not denote a particular tense. Nouns are not connected to time. So the difference between nouns and verbs, we said that nouns are connected to a specific time and verbs are not. I'm not going to go over all of this again. We've covered this before, okay? I assume that all of you remember difference between nouns and verbs and particles, so I'll jump that because the purpose of this session today is just to give you an overview, to put everything where it belongs. It's not for me to explain everything all over again, okay? And I'm going to share these notes with you so you can have it in your own hands, or you can revise it and study it and, do with it whatever you see fit, inshallah. Type. So when it comes to nouns, then these are the types of nouns that we have covered. Or these are the things about nouns we've talked about. Okay? What are they? First, we talked about noun features. We said that every single noun has one of 4 attributes. It has to tick a box in one of 4 columns, if you like. Okay? So we have a column called definiteness, a column called gender, number, and case, i'rab. So either it's definite or indefinite. Either it's male or female. Either it's singular, as in one person, either dual, 2, or plural, 3 and above. And either it is marfu', the different cases in Arabic for nouns, which is marfu', mansoob, and majroor. One of those 3. Okay? So every single noun, when we say ahkamul kalima, every single noun, it has to, one of these features have to be there. Okay? Obviously, i'rab case is something that depends on context, which we'll talk about when it comes to ahkamul kalam. But every noun is either definite, gender, male or female, or singular, dual, or plural. Another thing that is specific to nouns is the concept of Ibafa, a very important concept. Okay, the Ibafa construct, the mudaf and mudaf ilayh, which can get confusing sometimes, but it is so abundant in the Arabic language that if you don't understand Ibafa, you have no chance of understanding the Arabic language. Absolutely no chance. Okay, you'll find it everywhere. Okay, such as Muhammadun Rasulullah. Okay, so even in the adhan or even the shahada, yes, we have Muhammadun Rasulullah. Rasulullah is mudaf ilayh. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, whereby you associate or establish the possessive nature between the messenger and the one who sent him. The messenger of Allah. Kitabullah, the book of Allah. Al-Qur'anu Kitabullah. The Qur'an is the book of Allah. Okay? Now the mudaf and mudaf ilayh, it can either be 2 nouns, normal nouns, or it could be a noun and a pronoun, a personal pronoun. Okay? Which we'll talk about in a minute. And also something else related to the idaf is the ya'un nisbah, the ya of association, like Pakistani. Okay? When you associate someone with the country of Pakistan. Or Salafi, when you associate someone with the Salaf. Okay, so this ya that you add to a noun is called the Yav Association. If you want to associate someone with something, you add the ya. Okay, so you can say, for example, Ana Rajulun Britani, Somali, whatever country, add a ya at the end, you've associated yourself with that country. Okay, Ana Rajulun Sunni, associating yourself with the Sunnah, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's the Yav Association. Then we have the pronouns. Pronouns, we have personal pronouns and demonstrative pronouns. In English, they come together, all of them under the umbrella of pronouns. And what we mean by pronouns is that it is basically a noun that has, or that denotes one of 3 persons, first, second, or third. So those nouns that have first, second, or third person are what we call pronouns. These are nouns basically that take the place of another noun. So instead of repeating the same noun altogether, it takes its place. That's what we call pronouns. The most common one are the personal pronouns. I and you and they and she and he and so on and so forth. We've done 5 so far in this book, which are the singular ones. Ana, anta, anti, huwa, and hiya. Okay? So a pronoun is a word that takes the place of another noun. Okay? Why are they important? Because they're used to avoid repeating the same nouns over and over again. Okay? We said that personal pronouns have features. Number 1 is that they have person, first, second, or third. They have gender. They have all of the features of nouns. Okay? So they have all of the features of nouns, which are definiteness. All pronouns are definite. Male and female. Gender. Number as well. We have singular, plural, and dual pronouns. And when it comes to i'rab, in their case, they don't have an i'rab technically speaking, but they are in something called mahal. We'll talk about that another time. But the one thing that pronouns have that other nouns do not have is person. First, second, third person. Denoting these 3 things. This is something specific to pronouns. And that applies to personal pronouns, applies to demonstrative pronouns, applies to relative pronouns. All these things called pronouns in English, all of them have person. So demonstrative pronouns are those words that we use to point things out. Okay, such as this or that. هذا and هذه. Okay? And they're always in the second person. They're always in the second person, and they can be male or female. And they can also be singular, plural, or dual. We'll do that another time. Okay? طيب. Personal pronoun types. We said personal pronouns, they can either be attached to a verb or a noun, or they can be isolated. Okay? So the isolated ones are أنا, أنت, أنت, هو, and هي. And the attached ones are the ya, such as كتابي, كتابك, the ka, كتابك, كتابه, and كتابها. These are the attached pronouns. Okay? When these pronouns are attached to a noun, it's mudaf ilayh. When they are attached to a verb, then it's a object of that verb. Okay? We'll talk about that later. Okay? طيب. واضح so far? Hope it's clear. Okay? So these are the pronouns. Like I said, the purpose is just to go over it quickly as a refresher. This is something we've already covered. Interrogative words. Now the interrogative words, as you can see, I've listed them underneath nouns, because the vast majority of them are nouns. Apart from 2. A and hal. A and hal are not nouns. Everything else, they're nouns. All of the rest are nouns. Okay? Who can tell me why? Or who can prove to me that the word أين or كيف or ماذا, that they are actually nouns? Who can prove that to me? Okay? Let's see if any of you have some kind of background knowledge in Nahu. What are the signs of a noun that apply to personal pronoun, to interrogative words, so that we know that they are actually nouns and not particles? Why are they not huruf? They don't change. One of the signs of huruf or particles is that they don't change. The harakat at the end never change. They keep one form. Interrogative words, they all keep one form as well. That's what we call mabni. But interrogative words, kayfa, aina, all of these, they're nouns. They're not particles. Any of you can figure out why? Or how to prove that they are actually nouns? Okay, you can only answer this question if you've done maybe a bit of ajrumiyya, you have some kind of background in Nahu. Okay. No one? I'll give it 10 seconds. Okay, let me tell you the answer. Because one of the telltale signs, most important signs, is it because they have a meaning on their own? Yes, but I'm looking for a grammatical sign. The signs that they talk about of nouns. Nouns have certain signs. Alamatul ism. Which of the alamatul ism apply to interrogative words? The alamatul ism that apply to interrogative words are the fact that huruful jar can enter upon them or come before them. For example, don't we say min ayna anta? Min ayna anta. This word min, which is a preposition, which are from the particles, okay? The particles that we've learned so far, the main ones are prepositions: min, ila, fi, bi, li. Okay? These prepositions, they can enter upon personal pronouns, can't they? Yes, they can. Upon interrogative words, which means they're nouns. Min ayna anta. Okay? For example, sometimes the Arabs, they say kayfak. Kayfak. Okay, this now is mudaf mudaf ilayh. Mudaf mudaf ilayh, we mentioned, is specific to nouns. Kayfak. Okay? And so on and so forth. So that's one of the signs. That was just something outside of what we've covered. I just wanted to see if any of you knew that. Type. So interrogative words, we said we have, they're basically words that we use to ask a question. Okay? And we mentioned that there are two different types. We have interrogative determiners and the interrogative adverbs. The difference really being that with determiners, we're asking close-ended questions. Okay? As in, هل أنت باكستاني? Are you Pakistani? The answer could be either نعم or لا. These are closed questions. We use interrogative determiners to determine something. Whereas interrogative adverbs, they leave the door open. You can answer with whatever you like. These are open-ended questions. Okay? So some examples of determiners are ما or هل or أي. Okay? Determiners as in, they determine something. Okay? Adverbs, they describe something. Okay, so you're asking about the description. Here you're asking about something's identity, if you like. Here you're asking about something's attribute, description. So where, how much, when, meta, and so on and so forth. Okay? It's not important that you know these two differences, but the important thing is that you remember all of the interrogative words. Here they are. I've got a nice list here for you. We've got ma, which means what. We got hal, which means are or is, yani, are you or is he. Aina, which means where. Kem, which means how much. Which means ayya. Who, which means man. Mata means when. What, mada. And you need to know the difference between men and ma. Okay? Men and ma. Difference being that ma is used for inanimate objects. Men is used for people, for persons. Okay? So you can't walk up to someone and say ma hada. Okay, that would be very embarrassing. Okay, you should say man hada. Difference between mada and ma as well. What's the difference between mada and ma? We said that mada comes before verbs, ma comes before nouns. So these are some important distinctions that you need to remember. Okay, so we said that a few notes. Number one, they're all nouns apart from a and hal, and also they always occur at the beginning of a sentence. This is very important. These question words, interrogative words, they always come at the beginning of a sentence. You can't say, for example, أنت أين? Or أنت من أين? لا. You can't say, for example, الاختبار متى? Okay? Some people might say it, but that's not grammatically correct. Grammatically correct, متى الاختبار? Okay? So these words, they should always be at the beginning of a sentence. Okay, they should always be at the beginning of a sentence. So you start off with the question word, always. Okay, I think English is the same as well. You always start with the question word. But we talked about numbers as well, which happen to be nouns as well. We said we got cardinal numbers and ordinal numbers. We said the main difference are what? Cardinal, we're talking about quantity. Ordinal, we're talking about order. The important thing grammatically is that you know that cardinal numbers happen in the Ibafa construct, mudaf mudaf ilayh. Okay, so for example, khamsatu kutubin, 5 books. Okay, khamsu sa'atin, 5 hours. Okay, so they happen in the Ibafa construct when we're talking about the cardinal numbers. Whereas the ordinal numbers, la, these are adjectives. Adjectives, as in الساعة السابعة. Okay, they both have alif lam. الساعة السابعة, not 7 ساعات or الساعة 7. No, الساعة السابعة. السابعة is an adjective of الساعة, i.e. the 7th hour. The 7th hour. Okay, so that's the most important difference. We have some exercise we've done on cardinal and ordinal numbers. Go back to them. And these are some examples we've done in class, I remember, which is الساعة الآن 5:30. What is this? Is this ordinal or cardinal? Al-khamisatu. It's ordinal. Why? Because an adjective was الساعة, the 5th hour. Okay, خامسة is ordinal. عندي 5 كتب. 5 is quantity, 5 books. Cardinal. أسكن في الدور الثالث. Third floor. First, second, third. Order. Okay, so this is an adjective. عمري 7. عمري 7. Quantity, 7 years. My age is 7 years. Quantity, not if you like order. Okay, it's quite important, really important grammatically. Okay, it might sound like we're learning about math here. لا. Grammatically is really important because it makes a massive difference in terms of, you know, how people understand you. If you say, for example, عمري 7, people will misunderstand you. If you say عندي الكتاب الخامس, يعني what's the difference between عندي 5 كتب and عندي الكتاب الخامس? If you say عندي الكتاب الخامس means I have the 5th book. I'm thinking about بين يديك now. بين يديك is 8 books. عندي الكتاب الخامس, I've got the 5th book. Okay, good for you. Okay, that's much different from عندي 5 كتب. If you say عندي الكتاب الخامس means you only have 1 book, which is the 5th book. If you say عندي 5 كتب means you have 5 books, probably from book 1 to book 5. Or book 3 to 8, whatever. But you have 5 books. Okay? I don't know the order. I don't know which order. I don't know if you have the first, second, or third, but I know you have 5 books. It could be the first and the third and the 5th. Allah knows best. But you got 5 books. This gives me quantity, not order. Nouns. Then we have verbs. We finished talking about nouns. When it comes to verbs, there are 3 types in Arabic: past tense, present tense, and imperative. Okay? Well, you might say, Ustad, there are 3 tenses. La. The types of Arabic verbs, it's about their i'rab, how we do i'rab of these, how we do their constructions and their case and their moods. It's not particularly about tense. Okay? So past tense and present tense, fine. Imperative, fi'l amr, you can argue it's going to happen in the future, i.e. if I tell you to do something, you're going to do it after I tell you to do it. You can argue, but it's not actually the future tense. The future tense in the Arabic language, we talked about it. We learned about it. How do we put a verb in the future tense? We add the letter sin. We prefix sin or sofa. So, for example, if you have a verb saying ashrabu, I'm drinking, then to put it in the future tense, you say sa'ashrabu. Okay, so that would be the future tense. But the future tense is not considered to be one of the types of the Arabic language because the grammatically it didn't change. Ashrabu, sa'ashrabu. All you did is you added a prefix, that's it. But it didn't become ashraba or ashribi or whatever. It stayed the same. That's why when it comes to the books of grammar, they never study future tense. You won't find a topic of fi'l al-mustaqbal in the books of grammar. Because grammar is all about the changing of the word, the end of it or the structure of it. Since the structure doesn't change, it's got nothing to do with grammar. But if we're going to talk about But fi'l amr, the imperative tense, is a specific type in the Arabic language. Why? Because it's constructed in a specific way. So for example, let's take the verb kataba. Okay, kataba, past tense. Yaktubu, present tense. Uktub, that's an imperative, that's an amr, that's a command for you to write. Uktub. Okay? So you learn in grammar how to change and conjugate these verbs. How do you go from past to present? How do you go from present to amr? This is extremely important. Extremely important. Okay? And what we've learned so far in this book, I don't think we've learned any verb conjugation so far. La. Apart from the changing it from masculine to feminine. That's the only thing we've learned so far. Or the 5 different pronouns. Ashrabu, tashrabu, tashrabina, yashrabu, and tashrabu. We've learned that. In terms of conjugation, all the conjugation we've learned so far, it's all within the present tense. We haven't covered past tense. We haven't covered the fi'l amr. Will come in the future, inshallah. Okay? But within the present tense itself, you got 12 conjugations. Past tense is 12. Imperative is 5. How much is that altogether? we're talking about 29 different conjugations, which, don't be intimidated, it's not that difficult because for the most part it follows a pattern, a simple pattern. Once you understand the pattern, you're fine. Okay? But we got 29 different conjugations. Why? Because we got 12 pronouns. We only done 5 so far, which are the singular ones. We also have 2 dual, and we have another 5 for plural. Okay? So that's what you're looking forward to, inshallah. But now, so far, to put your head at ease, all you need to remember is what? The 5 personal pronouns that are singular, first, second, and third person, such as أشرب, أنا, تشرب, أنت, تشربين, أنت, يشرب, هو, and تشرب, هي. And we've talked about that. Okay? I think I've covered, added the notes to that when we were talking about pronouns over here. Okay? Because the verb itself is just the shin and the ra and the ba. Okay? The ta, the prefixes, the stuff that we add, they're just to guide you towards which pronoun is present. Because all the pronouns here are hidden. Okay? When I say ashrabu, it means ana. It's understood. It's hidden. When you say tashrabu, it means anta or hiya, one of the two. Tashrabina, here the ya at the end is the pronoun. Okay? Again, inshallah, all of that subject for another day, inshallah. Particles, we had prepositions, we already talked about them, alhamdulillah. With that, we conclude what? Ahkamul kalimah. These are the rulings of a word by itself. Okay, so these are the rulings of a word by itself. So a word can be a noun. These are different types of nouns we talked about. And also we mentioned Ibafa, which is something specific to nouns. Yeah, there we go. Okay, then we talked about verbs and particles. How about Ahkamul Kalam? How about the rulings of words within sentences? In other words, we're talking about Arabic sentences basically. What is the structure of Arabic sentences? Okay? Now, you will never understand the structure of Arabic sentences without knowing the knowledge of I'rab, or the science of I'rab. And we talked about what I'rab already is. It's the changing of the harakat at the end to show you what function that word has within the sentence. And we also mentioned the benefits of I'rab is that it allows us the flexibility of putting the word in different places within the sentence without being stuck to a specific word order, like the English language, for example. Okay? Now, when it comes to I'rab, there are 2 factors. There are 2 things that determine the I'rab. Number 1, something we call awamil. They call it government in English, right? Which basically is certain words affect other words. So a fi'l, for example, and you have a fa'il and you have maf'ulun bihi. We talked about those 3 things, right? So you have a verb, and the verb has something called an object. What does it do to the object? It gives you a fatha. So now that verb is what we call a fa'il, an amil. It's an amil. Okay, so I'rab is all about learning about these different awamil and what they do. So in other words, Nahu is not that difficult. It's just a network of dependencies. Like you have, I'm going to show you a quick diagram. Show you what I mean. So you have this website called Quran Corpus, okay? And it has something called dependency graphs. In other words, for every ayah of the Quran, I think they've done up to chapter. Have they done the whole Quran? Last time I remember they didn't. No, they didn't. They've done from chapter 1 to 8 and from chapter 59 to the end. Okay? So you have what we call these dependency graphs. So as you can see all of these lines? This is basically how every word is depending on another word. This is what I'rab basically is. So you have bismi, okay? So you have this noun has a kasra because of the ba that came before it. Bismillahi. Why does Allah here, the word Allah, have a kasra? Why? Because it is also affected by the ism over here. It's mudaf ilayh. Okay, so as you can see, this is dependent on this. This word depends on this one that gave it the kasrah. This one depends on this one that gave it kasrah. Then we got Ar-Rahmani. Why does Ar-Rahmani have a kasrah? Because it is an adjective of Allah. Why does Ar-Rahim have a kasrah? Because it's an adjective of Allah as well. This is what I mean with government and agreement. We haven't talked about agreement yet. Government as in the ba causes ismi to have kasrah. Ismi causes Allah to have kasrah. Okay, the word Allah. Okay, but why does Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim have kasrah? Is because they have to be in agreement with the word Allah, because they're adjectives of the word Allah. Okay, so this is what the Arab is about. Okay, just a overview, quick overview. This lesson, the purpose of this lesson is not to go into detail, just to show you what to look forward to, inshallah. Okay, so going back to what we mentioned, we have government and agreement. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The ba is an amil that made ismi have kasrah. Ismi is an amil that made Allah have a kasrah because mudaf ilayh. Ar-Rahmani is agreement. Why? Because it's an adjective. It has to follow the noun that it describes or modifies. Ar-Rahimi, same thing. So I'rab is all about these two things. So nouns have either fatha, kasra, dhamma because they have to be in agreement with another noun that they follow. Or they have a fatha, kasra, dhamma because there's an amil or a factor of i'rab that made it have that fatha, kasra, or dhamma. Nahu is all about knowing these dependencies. Is that clear, or is that going above your head? Let me know what you think. You know, I'm telling you, man, these live classes on Zoom is a problem when you can't see the students and you can't gauge their expressions. Maybe if some of you are sitting in front of me now, I might have stopped teaching this long time ago when I see the confusion on your faces. Let me know if you're confused. Let me know, inshallah. If it's clear, alhamdulillah. Okay? Alhamdulillah, mumtaz. Okay, so that's what we call al-i'rab. Again, the purpose of this today's lesson is not to go detailed into i'rab or grammar. I'm not promising you that you'll understand all of Arabic grammar, but it's just to give you an overview of what we've done so far. So those of you that have been with us from week 1, 90% of what I've mentioned is nothing new. It just puts everything in its place. It's a revision session. Those of you that are new, that haven't done chapter 1, 2, or 3, or unit 1, 2, or 3 with us, or they came late, or they haven't paid attention, or whatever, or they haven't understood it, then I would say don't worry much about it, inshallah. When it comes to the exam, it's not going to be that difficult. There's a lot of theory, but the practice is much easier than the theory. We also talked about sentence types, the Arabic sentences. We said is one of two types. We have either nominal sentences or verbal sentences. Jumla ismiya or jumla fi'liya. Okay? The jumla ismiya, we said, is the sentence that starts with a noun. صح? And the jumla fi'liya is what? It's the sentence that starts with a verb. Okay, why is that important? The reason it's important is because every sentence in the Arabic language has what we call pillars and extras. Pillars, i.e., if any of those pillars are missing, the sentence is incomplete. Extras, i.e., they give added meaning to the sentence, but if we don't mention it, sentence is still complete. Okay? They enhance the sentence, if you like. So the most important thing for you as someone who's new to learning Arabic, who wants to understand the language, the most important thing, the most important task, the most crucial task upon you is to find these pillars. I guarantee you 100%, if you find the pillars of a sentence, you'll understand the sentence. However, if you don't find the pillars of a sentence, you'll be confused because you won't know what's being talked about and you won't know what's being said about it. Okay? That's why we mentioned that the normal sentences has two pillars, mubtada and khabar. Mubtada is the subject, the thing we're actually talking about. If you can't figure out where the mubtada is, it means you don't know what we're talking about. So how are you going to understand the sentence? Okay, the khabar is what we said about that thing. So if you can't find that part of the sentence that gives you information about that thing that we're talking about, then you're not going to know what we said about it. And we've done examples on that. We've done a whole exercise on it, those of you that remember. Okay? But this is where this belongs. Talking about sentence elements, it belongs under أحكام الكلام. So sentence types, sentence elements, we have pillars, we have extras. The pillars of a nominal sentence are مبتدأ and خبر. Okay? For example, أنا مدرس. أنا is the مبتدأ, مدرس is the خبر. هذا البيت الكبير جميل. We mentioned this example as well. Okay? هذا البيت الكبير, up until here the sentence is incomplete, even though it consists of 3 words. If you can't figure that out, you're lost. If you think that هذا البيت الكبير is a complete sentence, that means you think it means this house is big, and that's not the meaning of the sentence. Rather, هذا البيت الكبير means this big house. This big house. طيب, this big house, what does that mean? It means nothing. But that's why we have to add the predicate, which is جميل. This big house is beautiful. How do we know where to put the is? Because in the English language, the barrier between the subject and the predicate is the word is. That's what we call equational sentences. Something something is. That's it. You are something something. So this word is or are or from to be, yes, is the barrier between the subject and the predicate. In English, like we said, it's very straightforward. You're going to have the subject first, you're going to have the is or the are, and then you're going to have the predicate. Straightforward. Arabic, that's not the case, because the subject might come sometimes after the predicate. Okay, so you have to know how to figure this out. So هذا البيت الكبير جميل. How do we know where to put the is? We mentioned this has something to do with definiteness and indefiniteness, which is one of the core attributes of a noun. You have to look if the noun is definite or indefinite. We've talked about that before. We're not going to go into detail, and we have the exercises for it on quizzes called the Basic Arabic Sentences. Make sure you do it as much as you can. How do you find the predicate? We talked about that. We said that in Arabic, the word is essentially not uttered or written. It's implied. You have to understand where the is. How do you understand where the is? It's a science, okay, that we've talked about before. الجملة الاسمية, and I assume most of you understand, that's why I'm jumping over this, because we've done it before. الجملة الفعلية, has also 3 pillars. It has 3 pillars. Okay, this third one is optional. What does it depend on? We have the first one called فعل and the second one called فاعل. So every single sentence, any verbal sentence in the Arabic language, it has to have at least 2 things, which is a verb, otherwise it wouldn't be a verbal sentence obviously, and it needs to have a fa'il, a verb subject, i.e. the doer of the action. Okay, this obviously goes back to our aqeedah as well. Every action has to have a doer. That's why when we look at Allah's creation, we look at the sky and the heavens and the earth, we know there has to be a creator, because every action has to have a doer. Same thing, grammatically, that also stands. You can't have a fi'l in a sentence without a fa'il. The fa'il has to be there. So for you, the most important thing, when you come across a verbal sentence that starts with a verb, your problem or your number one priority should be to find the fa'il. Who did this verb? When you find the fa'il, alhamdulillah, the sentence is complete. Except in one situation, which is if the fi'il itself is what we call an intransitive verb, which is a verb that needs an object, that affects someone else or something else, then that object also needs to be found. The maf'ulun bihi. So we talked about transitive and intransitive verbs. Okay, so for example, we have Muhammadun yusalli, Muhammad is praying. This is a complete sentence, it's fine. Okay, or yusalli Muhammadun. This is actually not even a verbal sentence, to be honest. Yusalli Muhammadun. Okay, or yuridu Muhammadun. So if we say, for example, yuridu Muhammadun, Muhammad wants, that's an incomplete sentence, even though we have a verb and a subject of the verb. It's an incomplete sentence. Why? Because the verb want, or to want something, you need to want something. You can't just say Muhammad wants. Someone's going to say, what does he want? Sentence not complete. So a verbal sentence can either be complete if it's an intransitive verb, i.e. Muhammad is sleeping, Muhammad is praying. These are fi'l lazim. They don't need an object. Or if it's a transitive verb that needs an object, then you need to also find the object. When you do that, and you find the mubtada and the khabar, or the fi'l fa'il and the maf'ulun bihi, you will have understood the sentence. But beyond that point, there are extra things that could be present within the sentence. These things, we call them mukammilat al-jumlatain. They enhance the sentence. They give the sentence more meaning. So for example, I can say Ja'a Muhammadun, Muhammad came. Okay, fine. That's a complete sentence. But I want to know, when did he come? How was it? For example, we have Ja'a Muhammadun laylan, Muhammad came at night. Or Ja'a Muhammadun musri'an, Muhammad came in a hurry. Okay? Or for example, we have, let's take another example. We have Istayqadha Muhammadun, Muhammad woke up. Complete sentence. Okay? When did he wake up? Istayqadha mubakkiran, Istayqadha Muhammadun mubakkiran. He woke up early. These are what we call extra things we can add to the sentence to give it more meaning. استيقظ محمد مبكرا يوم الجمعة. Muhammad woke up early on Friday. When I say to you that extra things, it doesn't mean your language or your sentences would be good enough if you don't add these extra things. لا. But your sentence would be complete. We're talking from a grammatical perspective. From a grammatical perspective, your sentence is complete. But obviously, nobody wants to listen to someone who speaks and just says, "Ja Muhammadun wa dakhala Muhammadun." La. You want a sentence that has more substance to that. Okay? So, استيقظ محمد مبكرا يوم الجمعة. Okay? And so on and so forth. So these are what we call the sentence elements. Now, the extra things that we can use to complete a sentence are, we have what we call adjectives. We also have what we call adverbs. We haven't really covered those. We'll cover them later, which are also important. Adjectives are generally nouns that describe other nouns, whereas adverbs normally are nouns that describe verbs. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, sometimes we want to be describe. Sometimes we might want to describe a noun. Sometimes we might want to describe the verb and how it took place. The one we've done so far are the adjectives. We talked about what they are. They describe other nouns, such as أريد بيتا جميلا. I want a beautiful house. You can say أريد بيتا, but what kind of house do you want? That's where you need adjectives to specify. بيتا جميلا as opposed to بيتا قبيحا, right? And the thing about adjectives is that whenever you have an adjective, it has to agree with the noun. It has to follow the noun. What does it agree with? What's the agreement in? In all of the attributes of the noun. So if the noun is definite, it has to be definite. If it's masculine, it has to be masculine. If it's feminine, it has to be feminine. In terms of number, it has singular, it has to be singular. In terms of i'rab, if it's marfu', it has to be marfu'. So let's apply that to this sentence. أريد بيتا جميلا. Okay, so بيتا is masculine, جميلا is masculine. بيتا is indefinite with the tanween, جميلا is indefinite. بيتا is singular, جميلا is singular. بيتا is mansoob, it has fatha at the end, جميلا has a fatha at the end. Okay, now we have لدينا شقة جميلة. لدينا شقة جميلة. Okay, شقة is feminine, so جميلة has to be feminine. Can you see the difference between بيتا جميلا and شقة جميلة? Why is this one جميلة and not جميلا or جميلة? Because شقة or شقة is also feminine, so جميلة also has to be feminine. One of the things that new Arabic speakers make the biggest mistakes in. And why is this important, the agreement? It's important because it tells you which word that word is an adjective for. Okay, it's really important. If you don't get this right, then the whole meaning is going to change. Okay, right. We also talked about adjectives versus predicate. Okay, we covered that earlier, which is when we talked about هذا البيت الكبير جميل. البيت الكبير is an adjective, it's not a predicate. How do you know it's an adjective or a predicate? We talked about that before. It's got to do with definiteness and indefiniteness. Okay, that's it. Now in terms of sentence structures, we haven't covered all of these, but we have the simple sentences, which are those sentences that just have the pillars only. Okay, we have interrogative sentences, those sentences that we use to ask questions. We have enhanced sentences, what I call enhanced sentences. This is a terminology I made up myself, which would be the opposite of a simple sentence, in the sense that it has more than just the pillars. Okay. Then we have compound sentences, which is when we compound multiple sentences together. For example, جاء محمد وخالد وعبد الرحمن, and so on and so forth. These will be compound sentences because each one you're compounding onto the next. And then you have complex sentences, which is something we're going to have to cover another time, which is things like sentences with relative pronouns. You might not know what that means. Conditional sentences, where if you say, for example, if Muhammad is on time, then give him a prize. Okay, this is a conditional sentence. So those complex sentences as well, something we have to cover another time. Now we're just here. This is what we've done so far. Simple sentences, we've done interrogative sentences, and a few enhanced sentences, as in we've learned about adjectives. Okay, we still need to learn about adverbs. Okay, that's an overview of all of the grammar we've done so far. I'll share these notes with you, inshallah ta'ala, so you can revise them at your own convenience. Right now, the most important thing, really, specifically for those of you that might feel a bit intimidated, thinking that the exam is going to be difficult. First and foremost, the exam is an exam, the midterm exam, that I'll be writing, number one. I wouldn't say lucky you. Because the quarterly tests, I take them from the book, right? But this midterm exam, I'll be preparing them myself. But I can tell you that if you do the assignments on Google Classroom, yes, and you do them properly and you get high marks in them, you can rest assured you'll get high marks in the exam as well. Okay, because I won't be coming up with anything other than what we've taught and we've been learning so far. Okay, so to reflect that, what we're going to do, inshallah, is we're going to do a quick competition. We're going to do a quick competition to see how everyone is doing, inshallah. And I have to say to you that the quizzes exercises that I'm putting up online, yes, which are those grammar skill builders, I have to say that, mashallah, there are some students really that are taking it serious, that are very competitive, Allahumma barik. Okay, because as you know, when you do these exercises, you get points. And you don't just get points for being accurate, you also get points for how quickly you do it. So mashallah, we've got students that have like 7-8 attempts. Okay, so for example, they'll do the quizzes exercise and they'll be second on the leaderboard, and then, or they'll be first on the leaderboard. Then another student will come along and they'll beat their high score. Before you know it, I get a notification, Fulan submitted it again. I check online, mashallah, he's on the first place again, and so on and so forth. So I found that there are a few students, Allahumma barik, and I really commend you for this, and I tell you to keep it up, this spirit of competitiveness. It'll get you really far, inshallah. So you find the students competing constantly, trying to keep the first spot. Okay, I would say do not, if you like, leave off that race. If you're not in the race, make sure you're in the race. Okay, because this sense of competitiveness amongst the students is one of the biggest motivators that will make you reach high places. And even if you're not number one on the leaderboard, I guarantee you will have nailed that particular concept. You will know it inside out, and the exam you're going to pass with flying colors, I guarantee you. Okay, so now the competition we're going to do is just going to be a reflection really of those of you that have been practicing those grammar skill builders exercises or not. I took the questions from the same skill builders, didn't take new questions. I just picked and chosen from those skill builders that we've done, and we're going to do a quick competition on that, and we see how everybody gets along, inshallah. So just give me one moment while I post the quiz and send the link. Any questions, by the way? Feel free to ask. Just give me 2 minutes, please. can go and stretch if you like for 2 minutes. We'll do the competition and then we'll go to the workshops, inshallah. Okay, everyone, I'm going to share a link with you. You can choose whatever name you want. You can put your kunya, you can put your real name. It's up to you, inshallah, no problem. And yeah, so to remind you, this is a competition, inshallah. Someone has a question here. Why is Amina's friend Sadiqatu Aminata but Sahl's son Ibn Sahlin? Amina's friend Sadiqatu Amina. Yes, Sadiqatu Amina. Sahl's son Ibn Sahlin. I don't see where the problem is. Oh, Aminata, you mean the fatha? Okay, yeah. Aminata is what we call mamnu' min as-sarf. There are certain nouns in the Arabic language that don't accept a kasra. In English, they're called diptodes. Okay? And Amina is one of them. Okay? But it's still in the same grammatical case. It's still majroor, but it just doesn't accept a fatha. Okay? That's why. Right. This is the competition. Let's see if I can get a link. Yeah, I'll post the link in the chat. There you go. So the competition, the way it's going to go is that we'll do question by question. I'll get all of the answers in. If I see that a lot of people made a mistake, I'll explain where the mistake is and we'll go to the next question. Altogether, there's 29 questions. And then at the end, we'll see who wins, inshallah. Okay? I'll give it a bit of time till everybody joins, inshallah. Then we start. So we got 10 people that have joined. We got 18 people in Zoom. So there's still a few of you missing. Let me know if you won't be joining so that I won't end up waiting for you. I'll give it 5 more seconds or 10 more seconds. If you're trying to join, you haven't joined yet, you need more time, text me. If within the coming 10 seconds I don't receive a message in the Zoom chat, I'm going to start the competition. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so I assume there's only 13 of you that will be taking part. I don't know what happened to the other 5. Or should I say 4 if I exclude myself. But let's start anyway. Bismillah. Ready everyone? Let's go for it. Bismillah. Question is اسمي خالد أنا مدرس من باكستانية باكستاني الباكستان Pakistan. Okay. 3 seconds left. Time's up. Okay, so 8 of you got it right. 2 of you got it wrong. Type. Some of you said Pakistaniya. That can't be right. It's ismi Khalid. Khalid is masculine, so it can't be Pakistaniya. And likewise, one of you said Pakistani. La, it said min. He is from. So you're gonna have to answer with the country, not with the association. If it's Ana ismi Khalidun Ana Pakistani would be correct. But min Pakistani, that's wrong. Okay? Next question. 3, 2, 1. Go. So the question says something ismi Khalid. So obviously someone is asking someone a question. That person answered with ismi Khalid. So is it man ismuk, masmi, masmuki, masmuka? Okay, 5 seconds left. Okay, time's up. Leaderboard, Jayid. Okay, we got some change in the leaderboard. One person got it wrong. One person said man ismuka. La. Mistake here is that ma ismuka. Man means who. Who is your name? Doesn't sound right, does it? Type. Next question. Question is something ismi Khadija. Man ismuka, masmi, masmuka, masmuki. Okay? Expect all of you to get this right, inshallah. There's one person here. I don't think that person is taking part. Ali. If the next question, if she doesn't answer this question, then next I'm going to end the question. Type. Time's up. Great. Let's see. Leaderboard changed again. Just a little bit. Yeah, the answer, obviously, all of you got it right. Alhamdulillah. Next question. I was hoping for the questions to be mixed up, but they were not. كيف something يا خالد. كيف الحالك. كيف الحالك. كيف حالك. كيف حالك. Okay. What's the correct answer? طيب. What's the answer? Okay, leaderboard changed. Everybody got it correct. Alhamdulillah. Next question. No need to answer. No need to explain. كيف الحالك is obviously wrong. This is again same question, I think. Just this one is feminine. كيف الحالك. كيف الحالك. كيف حالك. كيف حالك. Okay, I think we can end the question. Alright, let's go to the next question. Don't even look at the leaderboard. All of you got it right. Let's do this quick. Next question, ready? It says من هذا. هذا أخي. هذه أخي. هي أخي. Okay. Okay. think this one everyone's got it right, I suppose. Now everyone's got it right. Next question. Okay. All of you got it right. Next question. Any question that everybody got right, no point explaining anything. We'll just continue. Question says something جنسيتك أنا مصري. أين جنسيتك؟ أنا مصري. هل جنسيتك؟ أنا مصري. من جنسيتك؟ أنا مصري. ما جنسيتك؟ أنا مصري. That's the correct answer. Or at least here. Okay. Let's check the leaderboard. Alright, no changes. One person got it right. Someone said أين جنسيتك. لا, it's not correct. Next one. Question is أين عمار في المسجد يقرأ القرآن. قرأ القرآن في المسجد تقرأ القرآن في المسجد يقرأ القرآن. This one is يتقرأ القرآن. First one is يتقرأ القرآن. قرأ القرآن تقرأ القرآن يقرأ القرآن. You have to pay attention. You have to pay really close attention to these answers. Okay. One person got it wrong. طيب. Next question. Question says أين عمر؟ عمر في الحمام. تيوضأ توضأ تتوضأ يتوضأ. Time was up. Time's up. Okay, one person got it wrong. Time. Let's go to next. Question says أين خولة؟ خولة في المصلى. يصلي صلي يصلي تصلي. One person got it wrong. I think Samir is not here anymore. Time's up. Next question. I think you can see the leaderboard on your side, can't you? There's no point for me to show you here. I'm losing connection on quizzes. I'm on the wrong internet. Am I still on Zoom? Can everybody hear me? I think I lost connection on. Can everybody hear me on Zoom? Yeah, the quizzes, I lost connection. I suppose that's having an effect on everyone. One moment, let me try and fix it. Okay. I'm just refreshing 1 second. Okay, we've done this one. Let's go to the next question. Okay, question is من هذا؟ No, أين سعيدة؟ سعيدة في الغرفة تنام تنام ينام تتنام. Is everyone back on quizzes؟ طيب. Ooh, the leaderboard changed dramatically. Alright, next one. The competition is getting fierce. من هذا؟ هذا something عمر. هذا والدي عمر. هذا والد أنا عمر. هذا والدتي عمر. هذا أنا والد عمر. Okay. Next question. من هذا؟ هذا something سعيد. Next question. I'm just gonna go over it quickly because I think everyone got it right. من هذا؟ هذه فاطمة. هذه أنا بنت ابنتي. ابنة أنا. ابني ابنتي. Okay. I'm gonna jump a few questions. The ones at the end are a bit more difficult. كم الحمام في الشقة؟ كم حمام في الشقة؟ كم الحمام في الشقة؟ كم حماما في الشقة؟ Okay. Let's see how everyone done this one. Oh, leaderboard changed. طيب. One person. Okay. كم حماما. Okay. كم الحمام في الشقة؟ That's different meaning from what we learnt. That basically, I think we've understood this. How much does it cost? أنا تسكن في الشقة. يسكن في الشقة. أسكن في الشقة. نعم. Okay, great. Sorry, next question. All of you got it, almost all of you got it right. The last 4 questions are really difficult. Question is خالد تسكن في الشقة يسكن في الشقة نسكن في الشقة or يسكن في الشقة. Answer يسكن, correct. فاطمة يسكن أسكن تسكن. Okay, this question is a difficult one. Get ready for this one. Not this one, actually, the next one. Get ready for the next one. لدينا مرآة الجميلة الجميل جميل جميلة. This one is also slightly difficult. لدينا مرآة الجميلة الجميل جميل or جميلة. I expect this one to be challenging. That's why a lot of people are answering late. Okay. Let's see what happened to the leaderboard. Didn't change much. Okay. Only one person got it wrong, mashallah. Okay, let's see how you do with this question, okay? Bismillah. These last 4 questions will really set people apart. ماذا سيفعلين طارق؟ ماذا ستفعلين طارق؟ ماذا ستفعل طارق؟ ماذا سيفعل طارق؟ As you can see, a lot of people got it wrong. A lot of people got it wrong. And a few of you didn't even manage to answer. Okay? ماذا سيفعل طارق is the correct answer. Okay? ماذا سيفعل طارق is the third person. طيب, next question. I think this was also challenging. Pay close attention. ماذا something يا أحمد. Pay close attention. Okay. Ooh. Let's see what happened. Let's see if the leaderboard changed. Yes. MashaAllah. Okay. 5 of you got it wrong. لا إله إلا الله. ماذا ستفعل يا طارق? Look at the ya here at the end. Ya. Second person. It's not سيفعل. We're actually addressing Ahmed, sorry. ماذا ستفعل يا أحمد? Told you the last couple of ones are going to be difficult. Okay, next one. These last questions are to set people apart. Okay. If you learned from your previous mistake, you should get this one right. MashaAllah, you're much better. You see, that means we're having improvement, as you can see. as opposed to the previous question, which is back basically the same. Ya Latifa, second person, is being addressed. Seems like Noor Salini is going to win. This has been very, very tight between the top few players. This is the last question. Let's see if it makes a difference, and let's see who the winner for today is. Bismillah. There we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Who's the first one to answer? Noor Salini was one of the first ones to answer. She answered correctly, then she'd probably win. Okay. If we have a look at the chart view, you can see that it's a bit distributed. ماذا ستفعلين is wrong. ستفعل فاطمة, because it's third person. There's no ya here, where Fatima is being addressed. ماذا ستفعل فاطمة. Okay, that was a difficult one. MashaAllah, Allahumma barik. Noor Salini is first. There's no next question, is there? Do you want to end the quiz? Yes. Hope it gives us the leaderboard. So what's the leaderboard? MashaAllah. There we go. Aish is third. In Muhammad, it was Ibn Muhammad, I'm not sure. Second, Noor Salini is first. MashaAllah, ahsantum. MashaAllah, very well done. Generally speaking, very good. These are the questions. These are some of the questions that you struggled with. Question 27 and 26. I saw that coming. This question over here is a shock. Question 12, which says, what does question 12 say? أين سعيدة سعيدة في الغرفة تنام. I don't know why some people got that one wrong. The toughest question is question 27. The longest question was question number 20. Took the longest for everybody to answer. 5 questions had an accuracy of less than 40%. Time to investigate. Okay. Class accuracy. The class answered 60% of questions correctly. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Okay, that's great. Barakallah feekum. Very well done. And now we're going to go and jump onto the workshops, inshaAllah. Again, this competition that we've done, if you've absolutely smashed it, then I would say to you, you got nothing to worry about, inshaAllah, for the exam, because it's going to be covering the same concepts, inshaAllah. Okay? If you struggled with this, then make sure you go back to the grammar skill builder exercises and you keep on doing them until they become second nature, until you become accurate and fluent, inshaAllah. Are there any questions before we finish this session and go to the workshops? Let me know. Why is it tanamu? Because it's third person. Sa'idatu, I think it was Sa'ida, tanamu. Tanamu is third person, female. We mentioned there's an overlap between second person male, as in taf'alu, tashrabu, and third person female, tanamu. So Sa'idatu tanamu, there's an overlap there. Okay? You explained that in the lesson. Those are the only 2 pronouns, I think, that are the exact same. The Arabic language, used for 2 different persons. Okay? Right. Assalamu alaikum. I'll see you in the workshop. Oh, sorry. Before we end the workshop, just to explain what we're going to be doing in the workshop, specifically for the sisters, inshallah, what the teachers are going to do with you. You're going to be doing a speaking, I call it speaking marathon, whereby the students, one of the students asks and the other one answers, okay? One of the students asks in the masculine form and one of the other student answers in the female form or the feminine form. The reason I do that is because, generally speaking, on the brother side, we're always using masculine pronouns. On the sister side, I'm sure you're always using feminine pronouns. But you need to expose yourself and practice as well how to address the opposite sex as well. Basically, when you're speaking to your family members, when you're speaking Arabic, you'll be speaking to your father, your brother, your husband. So you need to practice that as well. I know in the workshops, you only have sisters in the workshops and the brothers only have brothers. But this particular exercise, you're going to be practicing both genders, inshallah, if you like. Okay? So that you have the opportunity to practice speaking to the brothers have a practice speaking to the female gender, and the sisters can practice speaking to the male gender, so that they can use that at home as well, inshallah. You'll be practicing, will not be able to participate. No problem, inshallah. Safar salama. طيب, السلام عليكم.